Good evening. It is Friday, November 15th at 9:49 p.m. Hope you're doing well. I bet you are. I bet you are doing well. Your Boilermakers, your number 13 Boilermakers have, a little bit ago, I can't say just, I had a little delay in my post game here, have just beaten Purdue, or Purdue has just beaten Alabama. Good start, Ryan. 87-78. That's if you tune in here, I have to do this now, don't I? I have to do this. I got to eat crow. I got to eat a big bowl of crow because I didn't think Purdue would win tonight, and I'm going to admit it. I think Alabama's very good. Watching Alabama, I still think they're very good. Watching the game unfold, I still think Purdue did some magical things tonight. I think Mackey was incredible. I think Purdue's defensive scheme was incredible. I think one guy specifically was the straw that stirred the drink, and TKR, don't look now, but Purdue might have another elite big man. Holy moly. What a game. What a game. We're going to talk about it here in a second. But first, before I talk to it, after you've watched your Boilermakers beat a ranked foe in Mackey Arena, you know what you do? You head towards the fire station, and then you turn left, and then you'll see the blue lights, the warm blue lights glowing, welcoming you inside. And then you're going to find the best staff on campus at AJ's. If you're on the walk, maybe you hit eatajs.com before and order ahead, and then you get in there, you order a pint on a game weekend. You get a boiled sports magnet at the bottom, maybe. Who knows? Maybe get lucky like that. Burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. Great people, great food. Okay, and also, if you need a T-shirt, if you need a sweatshirt, if you need a hat, if you want one of those platinum packs, if you want a coach's jacket like our pal Dylan just bought from Homefield, go to homefieldapparel.com, enter boiled25 at checkout, get 15% off your first purchase. That's homefieldapparel.com. Great stuff there. Christmas season's coming. Okay, so I got a hard time from even my fellow Boiled Sports, you call us staffers. What do you call us? There's no staff. We don't get paid. But I got a hard time from Anish because I said I thought Purdue was overrated just in the last couple of days. So I'm putting it all out on the table. I'm telling you guys, we're in a safe space. I think we're in a safe zone. I can tell you, I'm among friends. I think you guys won't give me too much of a hard time for being wrong about our Boilers, will you? Well, you can. Okay. And it's okay too. But here's the deal. My place of humility for my Boilermakers came from the idea that it's really hard to put it all together year after year after year after year. This will be the fourth year in a row. It's just hard to do this year after year and have the team ready for these elite teams. Even at Mackey, it's hard. And Matt Painter proves again that I don't know if there's anybody better right now. Current Matt Painter, present day Matt Painter, I don't know if there's anybody better than him in preparing a team in the pre-con. But it wasn't just Painter doing it. Painter did some pretty genius things. Purdue had to choose their poison. One thing they did is they said, well, we're going to try to take away Sears. We're going to try to take away his ability to hit the three. So they really blanketed him. A team effort between Smith, Harris, Cox, Colvin every now and again. Fletch got a little bit in the mix. But they took Sears away effectively, but Alabama jumped on it with that Philon guy, Philon, I believe. He shot 3 for 4 from deep, and it felt like every time Purdue got a defensive rebound, especially in that closing 5-7 minutes, that it was just massive. And I tweeted that out. Maybe in the last 10 minutes, it just felt like every time you stopped them from getting that second or third chance, it was such a big deal. Such a big deal. Purdue wins by 9 points, but the thing that's amazing is how they did it, right? At the 8-minute mark, you had one guy really take over the game. This is the one that I said, the straw that stirs the drink. And it was, of course, the one you'd think would do it in a game where you've got a pair of All-American point guards sparring with each other. You've got a rising star power forward, and on the other side, you have a potential All-American power forward center type guy. And then you've got all these stars in Alabama, all the depth, all these transfers. Of course, it's going to be the 3-star freshman from Milton, Massachusetts to step up and to just take that thing by the horns and put it away. Purdue was down by 2, I think, when CJ Cox hit his first 3 and drew the foul. And then he hit, for good measure, hit 2 more threes, because that's what CJ Cox does. The thing that's awesome, if you watch both CJ Cox and Harris play, is the way their eyes look during these games. They don't look like they're at all daunted. by the situation. And we saw a different Purdue, obviously, versus Yale. Very different team, different looking team. Alabama's a different bird, though. Alabama does something. They say we're either going to get threes or layups. That's just how they do it. And they're going to take a lot of threes, and they're going to get a lot of boards because of it. They're going to get a lot of rebounds that are, 10, 15 feet away from the basket. It's kind of frustrating to watch because it looks like your team's in position to play, but those things come off hard off the rim. And then that second look, how many times did we see in that final 20 minutes in the second half where Alabama would miss a three horribly? Like, one of them that really got my attention was the one they airballed the three. Purdue couldn't come up with the board because they were trying to make sure that they were D'ing up at that point. Alabama gets a cheap kick out and hits the three, right? Alabama finished the game, I think, under 40% from three. I'm going to talk about when I look at the stats. But at one point, they were over 40%. And they were chucking up at the end, trying to scratch and claw back in. But what a tremendous effort all around. TKR led all scorers. He played a massive game. If he hits his free throws, he looks super elite. Nearly 30 points if he can hit his free throws. And I think that's part of the game that we've seen TKR kind of, he's ebbed and flowed a little bit at times. In the first half, when you needed a bucket, when things got a little bit cold, it was Fletch Lawyer doing things. And you also had Raleigh Burgess. I mean, that was an amazing, that three that he hit was so huge because you had just found out I think you had TKR and Berg had both gotten their second fouls with about 8 minutes left. 7 minutes left in the first half, I believe. And you really need something to happen because it felt like the game was kind of teetering, maybe slipping just a little bit. And then Burgess bombs that three. A lot of guys got involved. Smith was solid. Smith had, I'm not sure. I don't think he was right by a triple-double, but he had a nice stat-stuffing day. But one of the biggest things Purdue did, I thought was really noteworthy, is just keeping Sears frustrated all day. Sears was, if we want to talk about, we've seen the other side of refs giving the All-American treatment to certain people. But Sears got some All-American treatment, even in Mackey Arena tonight. That guy travels all the time when he drives. In fact, he travels. You know why he travels? Because if you look at the picture here, and I didn't find the best, most high-quality picture for my thumbnail, but he's holding the ball like a running back trying to evade two defenders, which means he has no intention of putting the ball back down on the floor. So what happens if you take away his momentum? If you get in his way where his feet don't go in the linear path, he's going to have to take an extra step. How many times did you see 3 or 4 steps not called? I saw it a lot. But guess what? Regardless of whatever he was getting, Purdue finds a way in Mackey. Mackey's simply magical. It still is. It's an amazing place. Let's look at the stats together. Purdue improves to 4-0 on the season. They're 13th now. You can make your prediction in the chat here if you'd like, if you're listening live, or in the comments below. What is Purdue going to be on Monday? My guess is I'm going to say 8th. I think they're going to make a big jump. The question is it a team? Do people see this win that big because it wasn't Mackey? I think I think the pollsters will take that into account. But it's still beating the number 2 team in America and beating them pretty handily. Really, for that last 8 minutes, Purdue was in charge of that game. Trey Kaufman-Renn, like I said, 26 points, 8 boards, 4 assists. Let's see, how many fouls? He ended up with 4 fouls. He had 2 very early. Paint handled this just masterfully. When TKR was in foul trouble, he brought him in late in the first half. Burge told him to lay off. Alabama took advantage of it. They went right at him. He didn't get the foul. Berg got his cheap 3rd foul in that period of time. I don't think Berg played in the second half. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but if he did, he didn't play much. Berg ended the game with not many points, but he was important because he was making things difficult and he was physical on Alabama's bigs when they tried to really rattle Purdue. Let's say Uncle Cliff, Omoru, I don't know how to say that name. I never had. He was frustrating, but for some reason, I wasn't quite as intimidated as I was when he was at Rutgers. Maybe it's because he's surrounded by all these stars, all these great players at Alabama, where at Rutgers, he was one of the best players on the court generally all the time. But still, he's still tough out. If nothing else. One thing that was really incredible, if you didn't notice this, when the game started, Alabama had 4 grad transfers and a sophomore playing. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people like me wonder, how well can this team last during the season when they're playing men night in, night out in the Big Ten? When I say men, I'm talking about dudes that are 22, 23, 24 years old. I bet Alabama's average age on the court for most of the time was 22 tonight. I mean, you've got a lot of guys that are pretty well traveled, right? And then on the other side, you have some homegrown dudes doing what they do. So TKR, 26 points. Next up, Braden Smith, just 17 points. But the problem with Braden Smith is he was missing some open looks. He was 0 for 4 from 3. Let's see, 17 points, but here's where it gets fun. 6 rebounds and then 10 assists. Smith makes people better. Smith frustrates the hell out of the other team. Smith will have much better games this year. He will get that triple-double. I'm convinced of it. Fletch Lawyer, 17 points. 2 assists, 2 boards. Quiet second half, more than the first half, but he did have a big 3 with about, 11 minutes left, I think, when it felt like the game might get a little bit ahead of, a little bit out of Purdue's hands. Jakar Harris played solid, but didn't have many stats to talk about. Cam Heide is finding his niche, and his biggest niche right now is this: 8 rebounds. I said, call him Windex. Cam Heide cleaned the glass whenever Purdue needed a board, especially down the stretch. It was Cam Heide. You don't need to score a lot of points when you're rebounding like that. And Brian Newbert talked about this the other day. Cam Heide looks a bit like Mason Gillis if you kind of squint. Just the build he's put together now. And because of that, he can play multiple positions. He can probably play a little bit more than I think Gillis could because he's a little bit quicker, a little bit more athletic. Caleb First played solid in the closing minutes when you were trying to make sure that Kaufman-Wren got a deep breath and then could come in for the final minutes. It was First that Paint went to tonight, and First just played a good game. 6 points, 2 boards, and then, of course, let's talk about CJ Cox. 11 points. Just 1 board, but he was 3 for 3 from deep, 4 for 5 from the floor in general, and he was 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Purdue did a couple things really, really well. One of the big ones I'd say was rebounding. They out-rebounded Alabama. It didn't feel like, well, no, they didn't. They lost by 2. They lost by 2 on the board, so there you go. So maybe that wasn't as good as I thought, so that's not as good of a point. That was frustrating, in fact. But the big thing, I think, what you saw tonight is 2 really big-time teams playing. The best thing Purdue did, the best thing they did overall as a team, 3 turnovers, just 3 turnovers. Alabama had just 8. Big time basketball. Even down the stretch when Alabama was really gripping, trying to make things happen, they only ended up with 8 turnovers. Just a solid effort all around. And you're not going to find many teams that are better than Alabama. Perhaps we're looking at Alabama, especially based on what they've done the last couple games. They've struggled a bit last 2 games. So is this a team that hasn't gelled yet, or is this a team that's never going to reach their full potential? I don't know about that. They looked like they were dialed in today, and they couldn't get it done. Mackey Arena, how much is it worth? 7 to 10 points, probably. One thing Purdue did well, they shot the 3 well. They hit 56% of their threes. That's huge number, especially when you're playing a team that relies so heavily on the threes. And Alabama finishes the game only hitting 31% of their 3-pointers. Alabama hit their free throws. Holy moly, 86%. Purdue really struggled. And when it felt like those free throws that they missed were really big, especially in that middle of the second half. But still, Purdue holds on, wins 87-78. Next up, I believe you got Marquette on the road. I'm going to double check that, but I think that's what we got. Yeah, it's at Marquette, and Marquette's now 15th. So this is the stretch where Matt Painter can make magic yet again, if you really want to be real honest and blunt about it. You beat Alabama and Marquette. If you don't split these 2 games, holy moly. Again, I thought this would be rocket fuel in the polls if Purdue could beat Alabama. But if you beat both of them, mercy, that's coming right up on the 19th. So lots of fun ahead. And then you've got a nice, I don't want to say break, but you don't play any elite teams again until December. Mid-December. So, all right, let's look. What do you guys have to say? Thanks for tuning in live. A lot of you guys are happy. A lot of chirping here. Adam P says, go Boilers. The Noodle says, woohoo. Pat Gottschall's here. BTFU. Ted Berkey, Boiler up. Nate Dolan says, Boiler up. Moto 93, who's there? So the reason I didn't get here, Morgan, I think I did it right this time, was I talked to my son. LBD was in the house with you, and he was excited. He had already lost much of his voice, but still excited. And he said it's the loudest Maggie he's ever been in. I don't know if he remembers watching Ohio State and Purdue play when the baby Boilers were there. He was pretty young, but that was one of the loudest games I can ever remember in Mackey Arena. It sounded on TV to be every bit of that. Jay Granite says, it's 4 a.m. here in Germany, but I'm up for it. Glad you're here. That's awesome. Love hearing it. Love connecting with Boilers, especially overseas. Nita B. Inverse says, didn't expect such a solid win. Proud of our fellas. Yeah, I felt like, especially when Alabama hit a 3, there was one portion. He does not. LBD just said he doesn't remember that game. But it was, the funny thing is, I have that on tape where I talked to LBD. He's a little guy. I don't know how old he was, but I said, who's going to win today? And being me, same guy, I said, I think Purdue loses by 2 or 3. What do you think? He said, I think Purdue wins by 7. Purdue won the game. I should learn to be more positive, but that's not my way. I call it realism. You guys would call it negativity. Whatever you want to call it, it's okay. Big Time Boiler Grant says, Boiler Up definitely looked like a top team tonight. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And my argument for the team being months away from being in the elite conversation, my argument is out. And even if they come up short versus Marquette, which I'm not going to talk about it, but if they do, they still are playing a highly ranked team. Hopefully there's no letdown. And hopefully, one thing I really like is it seems to me every game guys are taking steps and becoming more like a unit, not a bunch of individuals, right? They know that they can, look inside TKR when they need a bucket. He's worked on really absorbing contact well, doing big things under the basket, no doubt about it. But the whole team looks like they're starting to understand their roles. And Heidi being able to figure it out is really, really probably a lot bigger than I'm even giving credit for. And I think it was big. Okay, he says he was 5 years old. 3 days from 5 years old in that Ohio State game. That makes sense. He also had a cold, so maybe his brain was foggy. Let's see. Ancient Astronaut. Yes, sir. Sam Lovejoy says, heck yeah. I was waiting for the reaction. Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. And I am, like I said, I hope I've done enough to eat crow. I hope I've done enough to express that I was out of line and Purdue proved me wrong. And I love it when I'm wrong this way. Nita Beanverse says, we love Cox. No doubt about it. Cox was huge. Ben Cotton says, Boiler Up from Salt Lake City. Had to miss the game for a conference. That's all right, Ben. You're forgiven. Greg Manis says, hello. Cheers to you. I don't know what you're drinking tonight. I'm drinking New Riff tonight. So cheers. Boymaker653 says, RIP everyone who said we were toast without Edie. And this is a great, thank you for saying this. It's a great point. My wife and I watched this one together tonight. And that was one of the things I said to her. I said, all the morons who don't pay attention, either don't pay attention to college basketball or don't have a memory past like 20 minutes. Maybe they're like gnats and they have no idea, but we all knew this. This is one thing. I think every Boilermaker knew that there was no shot at Purdue being dead, right? That was never in our, that's not what we thought. But I think even the most cautious of Boilermakers, I'll put myself in that group, would say, okay, hey, there's going to be a little bit of, retooling, not a rebuild at all, retooling. They got 3 starters returning from a Final Four team. They're going to be good, though. And, yeah, that's a great point. Joe Enza says Carson 2.0. Yeah, CJ Cox is Carson 2.0. He is flammable. He comes in. He hits big shots. The one difference is Purdue doesn't need him like they needed Carson, right? Carson played a lot of minutes, even as a freshman, until Paint kind of gave him some tough love and put him on the bench. But, yeah, there's a real advantage that Cox has and Purdue has that they don't have to lean that heavily on him. Let's see. Motor City Boiler says, I was really surprised they balled out. Nate Dolan says, CJ Cox, haymakers. Bama never recovered. Yeah, it was huge. Kevin Grulock says, so happy B Dowd. Love Mackie tonight, eating crow too. You and I can enjoy it maybe with a little bourbon. I don't know what you're drinking tonight. Big Time Boiler says, love TKR 5 and Heidi at the 4. Yeah, that was a good look. And to me, that's the look. Doesn't that seem like that's the way that Purdue should go forward? The really interesting thing about this is you're playing Alabama, who has height, they have athleticism, they have depth, and yet Purdue was able to dictate what they wanted to do. That's the thing that maybe excites me more than anything. Oh, yeah. Northwestern and Eastern Illinois are in overtime right now, says LBD. The Boiled Sports Desk. Pat Gottschall. Do you? Greg Manis says, no one had an off night. Yeah, they played well. They played it well as a team. Unbelievable game, Andy Day. Ben Carnahan says, defensive rebounding is the big question for this team. If they do it, they win. Yeah, they've got to figure out some things on the glass, but they're starting to figure it out. Again, Heidi's role in figuring that out is a big deal. But Heidi also, it's just like Gillis. Somebody's got to play the role of the guy who scratches and claws and scraps for the difficult rebound. Somebody has to be that guy. And that guy also starts setting a precedent for his teammates, right? Let them know, no, there's nothing easy here, right? And so that's a really big deal. Ethan says, I didn't hear a broadcast, but I hope they gave Colvin his praise. I know he didn't score, but played great. Locked Sears up, which I wouldn't have believed a couple months ago. Yeah, it's a wild transformation that Colvin's gone through. I agree, Ethan. There was a really lousy call at one point where Sears he used a clear out right and traveled, and then Colvin got the whistle. Colvin was pretty disgruntled with that one. Sears is getting a favorable whistle. ZL Spill 05. Don't know what to say. ZL Spill 05. I did not think we would either, but man, did we fight hard. Okay, so this simple thing you just said, this fight. Even if Purdue wouldn't have won, if they would have been fighting like hell, like they did most of the game, I think most Purdue fans would have said, okay, you come back, you fight another day. You may have died today, but you live in the big picture. You may have gotten beaten in the battle, you live in the war, right? That fight is something that we're missing in football. And I almost posted this afternoon. I don't mean to cross this over too much. I'm not going to rain on this too much, but that is a very key point, and that's something that you see in this basketball team. These things are not perfect right now for this basketball team. They are working things out, but they're fighting like hell, right? Versus Yale, they played ugly, but it wasn't an effort issue. It's just this team's trying to figure things out, right? Thanks for the point. Good point. Let's see. T-Rick says, I hope there aren't a lot of games on Peacock. I hate missing them, but I won't pay for the terrible service. It's a good service, T-Rick. But it's a Travis Schumachery that we have to pay for it. And I actually paid for the year service, so I get a good deal. But yeah, it sucks. Ethan says CJ stands for Carson Jr. Nolan Hostetler says it's my birthday. I don't bet, but I turned $5 into $195 with Lawyer Smith TKR parlay. Good day. Well, you say you don't bet, but there is proof right here that you actually do bet, and that's awesome. Congratulations. I do not bet. Last time I bet was in 5th grade. I lost $1. I said Purdue would win against IU, and Purdue lost. Bob Knight IU team. Let's see. Nathan Dolan says Purdue basketball team might have a chance to get Penn State. With their fight, yeah, a lot more than the football team does right now. Man, we'll talk about that. There's a lot to talk about, by the way, a lot to unpack with the football team and the athletic department. There's a lot to unpack. Let's not piss on my parade right now, guys. Sorry. Pat Goschel says, I thought we would have our hands full tonight. We did, but I was pleasantly surprised. Painter's officially in the reloading mode. Yeah, he's Paint's a genius in November. Need to be inversed. I also thought we were overrated. Thought we would lose this one by 5 or 6. You're not alone. First 3 games were iffy to me, but our guys came to play. Yeah. First 3 games. Yeah. Nolan Hostel says, in paint we trust. CJ Yo says CJ Cox rolled the tide. Let me get down here. I'm going to go. Let's see. Greg Manis says, seeing the first 3 games, I don't blame anyone for thinking we might be a loss ahead of time. Yeah. Purdue wasn't showing much, right? And there's something about the way Paint was, his substitutions made a lot more sense tonight. Let's say that. Okay. Yeah. Motor City Boy says, except for the play. So you're talking when they referred to Fletch as Foster over and over. That's frustrating. Yeah. That's real frustrating. And in Colorado says, good evening, great name. Boilermaker 63 says, beat out thought. Purdue was number 18 to 22. Looked every bit of top 10 tonight. Yeah, they did. They turned it on. Handel Jones says, let's go. Great to talk to you tonight and this afternoon, Handel. You need a little bit of this opium. Yeah, this natural opium that we just had to hold us over for tomorrow. No kidding. Brian T says, Miles, defense has improved. Love seeing him with the big block. Think that it led to CJ hitting the 3. Yeah, there's a funny thing that happens, and Paint talks about that. When a player makes a big play on defense, there's some feeding. There's some oxygen. That gives to the fire. It's incredible how that always works out that way. And big play on defense turns into big play on offense almost right away. Let's see. Ben Kolodzinski says, so handsome. Joined the Boiler victory with some neat spirits. Now onto boxing. Iron Mike versus whatever his name is. Yeah, which Paul? I said the wrong Paul earlier. Is that a real fight? Is that? I mean, I guess we'll find out. I don't know when it's. Did it start at 10? I don't know. It felt to me like that was just by design. Like they said, don't hit me in my pretty parts. That's what it felt like they were going to do. So I hope I hope Tyson knocks his head off. Tyson looks incredibly terrifying in training, so that's fun. Do not like either of the Paul brothers. Sorry. All right, Adam P says, Payton in the postgame radio interview also comment on Colvin's play on D. It is incredible how much of a difference. It's not really even a year. It's about 10 months. Remember, because Colvin was really in the doghouse for his defensive effort last year, where he got, had long moments of banishment. One thing I'd like to address right now, and this has none of you guys are saying, there's a YouTube channel that has been ruling Purdue dead as they overemphasize or overanalyze everything. Just saying, oh, this is a bad sign. This is it. This is it. It's over. Here's the thing. Consider the source when someone like that says something like that. I keep saying that. If they're fans of other teams, guys, they don't want Purdue to win. They had to admit Zach Edey was good. But they said Purdue was dead. They pretty much have said it over and over. Oh, here we go. Looks like since Heidi hasn't done well in practice, maybe this is it. Shut up. I know this is what you do, but shut up. And here's the best thing you guys can do. Either don't comment or don't watch it. And the reason I'm hearing about it, I'm literally hearing it through the grapevine. I stopped watching it, but tune in here. This is a nice place to meet. They haven't tweeted. Huh. Isn't that wild? They haven't tweeted tonight, says LBD. Wild. They haven't tweeted for 5 hours. Okay. Let's see. Boilermaker 63 says both teams started with nerves. That was that first, 7 to 10, well, longer than that. 10 to 12 minutes was pretty ugly. I'd say if you're going to say one part of the game was ugly, it was just that. Offensively, both teams look really bad at that point. Let's see. I'm going to go a little further down. Brian T said, Hackashack's strategy against TKR scares me. Yep, it should. I think he can shoot free throws a lot more effectively than he did tonight. Pat Gottschall says, question, Cox got the call over Harris against Yale in the second half. Cox had huge minutes tonight. Harris had the early edge, but do we think Cox may get the start as a third guard next game? No, I don't. And the reason I don't is I'm just judging it based on history, kind of the way Paint handles things. Purdue's winning now, right? So now you've just beaten a good team. Paint doesn't really mess with starting lineups when that's happening. And I don't know if that's superstition or just kind of rewarding those guys or what. I don't think he cares all that much about starting lineups, but I don't think he'll do it. And there's also a rhythm of a guy coming off a bench that is a very, very good thing. Meisterberger says, hail Purdue, and then says, why no Miles points? Yeah, I don't think he was looking for a shot, right? Isn't that the big thing? So no attempts. So he was just doing his thing. What'd he say? Sorry, I got things coming in from all sides, as you can imagine. Yeah, so those guys just said Smith is better than Sears. Yeah, Smith is better than Sears. Well, the funny thing is there's this debate going on if Smith will be, Hummel talked about this during the telecast, if you missed this, that Smith will be the best Purdue point guard by the time he graduates. I think he is flirting with that right now. I said this a year ago. I don't know how you can't see that he's flirting with it. Again, I've asked older Purdue fans, help me out with this, because there's a recency bias. But I remember pretty far back. I remember into the 90s. And I think Smith, his bag of tricks is big. He can do a lot of different things. He makes everybody better. He knows where everybody should be on the court. Awfully, awfully good. Yo says one thing that's really interesting. Surprised they didn't start fouling to lengthen the game. I was too. I was really surprised by that. Chris Felt says, just want to stop seeing Cliff. Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think that's it, unless we see him in March or April. Is it too early to say that? I think it is. Boiler Bugle says Heidi is bouncy. Yes, my wife also enjoys watching Heidi play basketball. He is bouncy. He is quick off the court. He has been working out. Ancient Atomic Immortality says Heidi is definitely more athletic, but probably less strong. Is that talking about Gillis? Keep in mind. Remember, Gillis left Purdue as a 5th-year guy. Heidi's in his 3rd year on campus. So if we look at the progression, maybe he can fill out. Who knows? Let's see. Let's go down a little bit here. Let's see. Out at Albany's, the gummy worm king of the world says, well, that was a dogfight. Right on. South Haven Boiler says, I'll be more impressed with a number 15 win on the road than a number 2 Alabama at home tonight. Great win tonight. I'm pretty impressed with the Alabama win. I understand why winning on the road is a bigger deal. It's very hard to win on the road, especially when, Jason D says, Braden is chirping on X. That's awesome. It's not cockiness, it's confidence if you back it up, and he can, and they can right now. So Judith Johnson says, great game. Sam Noel says, Kramer is the master of the ball tuck drive. Yeah. It's not a great move. Let's be real honest. It's not a great move, but it really limits you, right? It protects the ball, kind of, but you've got to be very resolute when you make that decision. It's got to happen. Everything has to go according to plan. If it doesn't, you're going to get travel called. Greg Manna says Carson's He's Arrived game was at Maryland as a freshman. CJ arrived a little early in his career. Yeah, was that the one? I know Carson had one where did he win a game from the free throw line at Maryland? Am I remember correctly? That's not the one you're talking about, probably. But yeah, Carson showed a lot as a freshman, and Paint really did discipline him a couple times. So yeah, yeah. LBD says it was the free throw game at Maryland. So that's my analytics desk right there. John Mellett says Elijah Craig is real smooth tonight. It tastes better after a dub. There's no doubt about it. Ted Berkey says, thanks for the recap and analysis. You're amazing. That's very kind and too much. Appreciate it. Adam P says, question. Last year, it was Edie's team. This year, who's the guy this year? Smith or TKR? I think it's Smith's team. But I think you could argue that a 3-headed captain is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. TKR Smith, lawyer. It's an impressive bunch, and it's a pretty big blessing to say, yeah, we just lost the best player in the history of the program, and these 3 are right here, right? If it's got to be one guy's team, I say it's Smith's team, because you need some moxie. I've said the one thing that impressed me though. So you got these 3 very interesting, unique personalities. Fletch is a guy, by the way, we saw Big Game Fletch tonight. For 20 minutes, we saw him, right? When Big Game Fletch is there, you watch out, because he's looking for his shot. And the new thing that Fletch does, he obviously looks. Jay says Colvin had 2 huge blocks on Sears. That's awesome. I didn't know it was 2. Morgan says he's drinking 10 cup bourbon, which is a very nice, easy sipper. Yeah, but you got these 3 personalities. You got Fletch is a guy who he'll kind of lay in the weeds and wait for his moment. But when the moment comes, he attacks, and he attacks it kind of fun and awkwardly. His face, he never looks cool when he's doing it. Do you notice that? His celebrations are hilarious. They always make me laugh. I don't know why. Smith, to me, is a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder all the time. It never ends. He walks in the gym and he feels like someone's disrespected him, and he plays like that all the time. And he is ready for the battle all the time. And then TKR is this cerebral, rare cat. He is just a different bird of a dude. He's a thinker. He's level-headed. I don't know if he's the killer that we'd love him to be yet, but tonight he looked like the killer. He was attacking. So that's pretty awesome. But they are very unique guys. They're great leaders. Really a blessing to have those guys in there this year. So let's see. Chris Lechty says, am I crazy for thinking first can be that Mason Gillis energy guy? You're not crazy for thinking it. And then if you've heard, I've had a similar sentiment where I've said similar things like that. I think first role this year, though, if I'm really looking at it, it's going to be the opposite. He's going to be the calming force. That's what it feels like to me. He doesn't. I always thought he was going to be a bit more of a live wire, especially as a freshman, because he plays at a like I said, it's a level of athleticism a lot of people don't see coming. He can bang the glass. He can step out, hit a three. But I think the real thing that Paint wants him to do is come and settle things down when things are getting rough. Just kind of be a calming force. That wasn't Gillis's job. Gillis's job was to come in, bloody some noses and get his bloodied and play tougher than anybody out there, right? So maybe Heidi can grow into that role. You need it regardless. Zach Welch says, I'd trust Paint to go coach the football team and go win more than the current staff. Oh, we're going to talk about it. It's all coming. I'm trying not to. RHCP for Life says, look better tonight than we did against Cocoa Krispies. It's not Corpus Krispies. It's Cocoa Krispies. Yes, they did. They looked better than they did versus. It's the best game of the season. They rose to the occasion. I wish they wouldn't play down to their competition, but maybe this is part of the growth curve of what's happening. No doubt there's part of that's what happened. Frail Hammer says, I thought we were just tall and got whistles tonight. I said this on Twitter. It's a shame that Painter's agreement with the officials has run out. We saw that. It's sad because the agreement was the only thing that let Purdue win, as we all know. Nate Benner says, Oates said after the game that he was shocked by how good TKR is. He said that at halftime, too. And he said it was a point of contention. They need to figure out how to stop TKR. TKR got their attention. It's interesting to see, again, a guy that was waiting his turn last year, tonight just kind of bullied his way into success. He's going to get better. He's going to get a lot better. We saw how he handled contact kind of funny and awkwardly at times where he'd get his pivot foot would be strapped down and he'd take a weird, awkward leg swing or something like that. Keeping his base under his shoulder is going to help him a lot. Maybe help him finish on the rim, above the rim. So, yeah, lot to look forward to with TKR, no doubt. Daniel Nelson says, what worries you more for future games, rebounding or free throw shooting? I think it's kind of a trick because I think it's a lot easier for this team to get better at rebounding. I know it doesn't seem like it should be easier, but the reason I think that is the precedent is there for Paint and his staff to figure out how to get guys in a position where they're going to make rebounds. And it's really a mentality. I think rebounding is a mentality. Illinois, LBD says Illinois is getting whipped right now. I don't know who they're playing. So maybe he could help me with that. Bama's next game is versus Illinois in Tuscaloosa. So that's a pretty good game. But New Orleans? What? Illinois is losing to New Orleans? No, next game for Bama is Illinois. What? Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, you lost me. I apologize to you guys. Yeah, so I think that my bigger concern is probably free throw shooting right now because I think they're going to get a lot better at rebounding. I think Paint and Brantley and company. Yeah, I got it, LBD. Yeah, so let's see. Sorry. So that's my concern. My bigger concern is free throw shooting because games are going to be a lot closer than they were last year. You're going to have a lot of dogfights. You got to hit your free throws down the stretch. Here's the next part, though. I mean, it's a different bird. This is a different thing, right? Last year it was, okay, you need a bucket. You send it into Edey. He's either going to get the bucket or he's going to hit the free throws, right? Because he hit him, 78% of the time. Now you've got a couple guys have to do it. And how do you do it? Do you attack it with Smith? Is he going to be going to the rack? On the road, it's a lot harder. It's going to be harder on the road. So this Marquette game, like someone said earlier, this was a good barometer. What am I talking about? This is a good barometer. That one's, it's probably even better to test the metal because this is the first time this team steps out into a very unfriendly place. See how it goes. Ed Albany says, Heidi should be going after rebounds since he's so jumpy. He's good. He's good on the boards. He's doing it. In Colorado says, rebounding worries me more than free throw percentage. I think free throws are more easily fixable. I don't know. And you did this. This is at home tonight too. The pressure is felt on the road a lot more. So yeah, I worry more about, I think it's fair to worry about both. That was a great question, but I'd say I worry more about free throws. So, darn it. He keeps lighting stuff up. He's not the only one. Okay. So let's keep going. Suruim says, when we got down 5 or 6 in the second half, I thought it was over. I thought right before Cox took over, I'll never doubt paint. Yeah, there's more there than just paint, though. That's the thing. There's a mentality that this team already has, and you're starting to see you got some blossoming or growing up killers. There's some dudes on this team that are coming, and this is the thing that makes me so excited about next year. I don't mean to wish this year away, but this year to me has always been one of those where I'm like, okay, next year, goodness gracious, absolute. Everyone should be terrified of Purdue. If this didn't get everybody's attention, I mean, obviously all of us, we already had we already knew, but everybody outside the walls, they took notice tonight. Nate Benner says, oh, that's right. You already said that one. Sorry. You didn't already say it. I already read it. Let's see. Jerry Huff says, paint crew needs to start wearing Smith beards to games. LOL. So the paint crew, and the reason I read that one was because I think the paint crew was in mid-season form today. Like I said, LBD was in the crew. They were awesome. Mackey sounded incredible. Well done, paint crew. Well done. It's tough for them to get up to mid-season form early, but they were there. They were there. Nate Harden says inevitable. Inevitable. This is all inevitable. Matt Painter is inevitable in November. November national champs. What Purdue does. Timothy Eaton says, sweet sound of victory in a glass. I think I will join you. Cheers. Okaboo 13 says, Zach is playing right now on ESPN. Fun. I'll turn that on right after I get off here. A lot to watch. A lot going on. Arizona's playing at Wisconsin. That's a fun one. Let's see. Big Yar 00 says, Colvin, Cox, Burgess first. Contributions from all over tonight. Yeah, team effort tonight. No doubt, team effort. Frail Hammer says, not getting past the Final Four this year. Not getting past the Final Four? Not getting past the Final Four. Well, hold on a second. Wait. Not getting past the Final Four this year? So you're saying Purdue's making the Final Four? I'm confused by the statement. Sorry. Let's see. Greg Mass says, where's Zach? Zach Welch says, has anyone on this team lost a non-con regular season game? And Greg answers that, cleans it up there. No, it's ridiculous. Has anyone on this team lost a non-con regular season game? Wait. Right. First is a true senior, right? He's the oldest guy. This is his 4th year. The previous 3 seasons, Purdue was what, 36-0? Is that right? I think it's 36-0, 33-0. Before these, so 36-0. Now they're 37-0. It's a ridiculous record for Caleb First specifically. Ridiculous. There's never been anything like that. It's absolutely absurd. Edie's hit a couple threes, it sounds like. It's awesome. Ben Dover's here. That's great. Going to be another fun year. These are golden years. This is a golden era of Purdue basketball. Make no bones about it. If you're 49 like me, or if you're 18 like LBD and you're in the paint crew, savor this stuff. If you're 75 years old, 76 years old like my dad, savor this. This is fun stuff. This is incredible. It's an incredible era. These games do count, for the record, and Purdue continues to rise to the occasion in the pre-con. And Matt Painter doing what he does year after year, getting teams ready quickly, is really it's a skill. A lot of teams, it takes a long time to gel, but part of the reason this is the cheating, let's say this is the cheating, the secret sauce of Painter winning, is he has a bunch of guys that have been there and that he's developed, right? So there's this core that just rotates through. They just rotate through. He doesn't have to rely like Illinois does or like Alabama does on a bunch of trained mercenaries, right? They're all good. These guys that Illinois is bringing in, the guys that Kansas brings in, the guys that Bama brings in, the guys that everybody brings in, they're good. But what Purdue has done is exceptionally and bizarre. It is exceptional and bizarre to see that year after year without, I mean, they had the best transfer portal player ever on the team last year. Perfect fit, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Nemanja Chalison says, Colvin Lambo leap into the student section after the game was wild because it wasn't the best offensive game, but he loved his passion. He's a different guy. I mean, like his focus is on the team, on doing the little things, pulling down boards, making defensive plays. And now he's just having fun jumping into the paint crew at the end of the game. That is awesome. I didn't see that. Indian Colorado says I'm 46. And the 87-88 team was the first one I really remember. Yeah, great team. I was so devastated when they lost to K-State. Yeah, that was Everett Stevens. That was leg. What a great team. The Three Amigos. Great team. Yeah, I remember that one. I was in Mackey when they clinched the Big Ten title. Amazing team. Jerry Huff says, haven't seen a team like this since my freshman year in 87. Like this one? Is it because the fact that nobody sees them coming? Is that what you mean? Let's see. That would be, they were predicted. It was 88, 89 when Scheffler's team shocked everybody, right? But this team, the media isn't shocked about this, and the media picked Purdue to win the Big Ten title, so which is wild to me. Let's see. Sarum says our last non-conference loss was Edie's freshman year. Yep. Chuck Hall and Edie would have been a fifth-year senior this year if he would have stayed. He had another year eligibility because of the never-ending COVID season. Chuck Hall says, I'm 59, loving it. BTFU. Right on, Chuck. And Chuck, can you sound out off specifically? I don't know you. Is there a better point guard that you remember than Braden Smith? I'm just asking you because you've got the age advantage on me, so glean some knowledge on me. You can drop your favorite point guard other than Smith. So, and then you guys can talk amongst yourselves. Andy Buck says they had security with ropes, better prepared than not. Purdue knows from experience. Oh, yeah. Zach Welch says, did you see the Bama players looking around, ready to storm the court? And Purdue didn't storm the court. Awesome. Oh, that may be, gosh, it's one of my favorite things about tonight, and I didn't even talk about it. I love it. It was so calm, too, as you looked at the interviews when the players were being interviewed out of the game, people just shuffling out. Yeah, just beat number 2. It's okay. We were just there. We belong here. This is what we do. We belong here. I wonder if there'll be a book written about beating Alabama in November by a Purdue alum about how great, if anybody understands that joke, good for you. Big Yar O says, Colvin just gets it. It's in the blood. Knew it was a matter of time. That's final. DJ? What's that? Okay. Chuck Hall says Smith is the best. That's what I think. I'm with you. I've been trying to, I want to be proven wrong. I want someone to tell me why I'm wrong. I think Parkinson was one that I can't argue with because he was really good and I don't remember him playing. So I don't know if I can, but I still think Smith is better. So, yeah, I don't know. And I've slowed down enough. I'm going to call it a night. And I will say thanks to everybody for tuning in to my late post-game wrap-up. Thanks to LBD for my, what's he say? He says now it's 39 straight games that Purdue has won. So thank you, LBD. Appreciate it. And appreciate all you guys being here. I'd say Woody Austin was not a point guard. Elliot, that's just my opinion. I don't think Woody Austin was a point guard. Someone want to defy me? I think he was a shooting guard. Yeah, he was very good. I would not say he was a point guard. So he was, let's see. Yeah, Chad was better. They were both good. They're both really good. And in my memory, I get them mixed up. So, but I think Woody was a shooting guard. That's what maybe you guys can prove me wrong there too, but I still think Smith's better than Woody. Judith says, thanks. Thank you, Andy. You're welcome. And everybody have a great evening. Enjoy the night. Plenty of time to watch basketball. And tomorrow, if you're at Ross-Ade, say hi. The LBD, pardon me, not the LBD, the Boiler Dowd crew will be there at the game, enjoying our final contest of the year. The home season comes to a merciful end for us. Do I have any prediction for the football game tomorrow? Clubber Lang, Mr. T in Rocky. Pain! I don't feel good about tomorrow. I don't feel good. So yes, there'll be a post game. It's going to be late. Unless Jay or Anish step in, whatever, if they want to do it. But my post game will be late because I'm going to be in God's country. Looks like the weather's going to be decent. It'll be a late post game. So goodbye for now. Hammer down. God bless you. Purdue is 4-0. They've just beaten Alabama in Mackey Arena, and I am wrong again, and I'm happy about it. We'll see you soon.